What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today we are doing episode 6 of Watch Wars. So here we have two Submariner homages. We have one from a company called Exec. So this is their Submariner homage. And then we also have the more popular Pagani sub homage. So we're going to see which one of these is better. So let's get them both in hand and reveal the first set of results. So the first one is design, and let's see the scores. So the Exec gets 6.5 and the Pagani gets 6. Now the reason why the Exec scores a little bit more is because it's got one extra little detail that the Pagani doesn't. But overall, I mean, both the designs are pretty much exactly the same, minus, the colours. This one's black and green Kermit, this one's just the all black. The reason why the Exec scores a little bit higher is because if you look on the rehaut, you can actually see we've got some engraving all the way around, which you don't get on the Pagani. So that one is a little bit more like the Rolex, but it's done it in its own little spin with the Exec branding. And I just think it just adds an extra little touch. This just sort of elevates it a little bit above the Pagani. But both designs, do a really good job of replicating it. This one obviously has the date, this one is the no date version, but yeah, they both do a really good job of replicating the sub. They're both very, very similar in size, similar in style, both have brushed and polished, so they're really, really similar there. The clasps, which I'll talk more about in a minute, are pretty much the same as the Rolex as well. Both have got screw down crowns signed, both have all the same elements, a similar design bezel. This one has, you can see 5-minute markers. This one doesn't. But, all in all, I mean, it's a very, very close call. But I just give that one the extra half a point because it's got that little engraving on the rehaut. I just think it, like I said, adds a little bit extra dimension. So let's move on to the next category, which is build and finish. And both of them score exactly the same at 6.5 points each. And the reason why, there's no difference is because, well, they're pretty much the same. Both have got the same high polished sides, brushed top of the lugs, brushed bracelet, and the quality is just about bang on. The polishing looks good on both, the brushing is good on both. The reason why they don't score higher is because it's just a personal preference. I'm not a huge fan of polished sides because obviously they scratch easier, they mark easier, and they look mucky after a while. So that's why they've not scored as high, but the finishing is really, really impressive. Like I said, we've got brushing on the bracelet, and the quality, there's no difference between them. Both is very, very smooth. We've got no rough edges or anything, so really impressed with both. If anything, the Pagani might score an extra couple of maybe a quarter of a point, just because it's a little bit more affordable, but more on that later. So moving on to the next, and we've got the bracelet, and you can see the Exec just ever so slightly edges ahead, and there's one reason for that. Like I said, the finishing and build is pretty much identical, so there's nothing there. The reason why this one scores a little bit more is because of that clasp. It's just ever so slightly better. You can see it's a little bit smaller on the Exec, even though the mechanism is exactly the same. They're both exactly the same on the inside as well. Let me just show you quickly. So you can see both are the Rolex style. But this one just has an extra micro adjust on the inside, whereas this one doesn't. It only has one, whereas the Exec has one more. So you can see both are exactly the same. And they also, another reason why the bracelets score a little bit better is because the Exec just seems to fit a little bit better. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's because this one has, a larger clasp. You can just see the difference in the length of them. The Pagani's is a lot longer. And I just think that makes the Exec fit a little bit better, which is why I've just, scored it a little bit higher. And that leads us on to the next category, which is comfort. And again, the Exec takes the extra half a point. Again, because of that clasp, it just means that it fits better on my wrist, and it's much more comfortable because of it. Now, the Pagani is still very, very comfortable, really nice watch to wear. The form factor of the case is really nice. The dimensions are, spot on for my wrist. It will fit larger and smaller wrists as well, obviously, if you put extra links back in. So yeah, very, very impressed with comfort. This one just takes the edge because it just fits me a little bit better. It's a little bit more snug, but it's not too tight. This one just sits a little bit too loose. So this one is definitely a better fit for me. But obviously it's swings and roundabouts really. This one might actually fit you better because all our wrists are different. But just for me personally, I'd give the edge ever so slightly to the Exec, but you know, it's not much. Next category is Lume, and I really could not differentiate between these two. Both of them have got good Lume. They're different colours as you can see by the video, but I have noticed that one is better one way and one is better the other way, but they sort of like equal and even out to you know, give you a good experience as a whole overall. So both get reasonably bright, both last a good amount of time. So yeah, there's not really that much to differentiate between the two of them. So whichever you get, the Lume is decent. You know, it's not amazing, it's not incredible, but you know, it's decent Lume. So not really anything to complain about as such. If anything, you know, the Execs could have been a little bit better, again, because it's a little bit more expensive, but the Paganis is, you know, it's okay. Moving on to the movement, and let's take a look at that score. And both of them score a 7. And the reason why both of them score a 7 is because they've got a Seiko NH35. Obviously this one has the date, this one has no date, so there is a ghost date position. But obviously it still works exactly as this one does. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with either of them. And both are fantastic movements. They're reliable, they're robust, and they just work well. You can also see, if you look at the back, if I just show you quickly, we've got exhibition case backs on both of them, so you can actually see both are using the Seiko NH35. So yeah, really good movement, hacking, hand winding, all that good stuff. All the good features, really robust, really reliable, and both are really accurate too. So I'm very, very impressed with both, which is why they score a 7. Just like the Pagani did the last time, I just thought I'd keep it consistent. An NH35 gets 7. The only way the NH35 would score a little bit higher is if it was actually regulated, which these are not. Moving on to the water resistance, and you can see the scores right now. Both of them get a 6, and that is because of their water resistance. So both of them have 100 meters of water resistance. I think 200 obviously would be a little bit better, but 100 is, you know, perfectly fine. These are going to be ideal for swimming. I wouldn't take them diving though, but swimming, in the shower, in the rain, you know, you're going to be perfectly fine with either one of these watches. So no complaints there. Yes, 200, like I said, would be better. And I would have expected that on the more expensive Exec, but no, it just gets 100, which is why it scores exactly the same, 6 points. Next one is availability, and you can see the Pagani takes the win by half a point. And the reason why the Pagani takes a win by half the point is because it's available on an extra place. So both of these are available on Amazon. Both of these are available on their own stores. It's just this one is available on AliExpress, whereas this one is not. So that's why it just gets an extra half a point, because it's available in one extra place. So it is a little bit easier to get a hold of. So yeah, that's why there. So both are easy to obviously get a hold of. It's just you can get the Pagani in more places. Then finally we get on to that brand, and you can see we've got 6 and 7. Now the reason why they've scored this is because the Pagani is obviously, it's been around longer, and I think they've built up a reputation for making good quality homages. Obviously they're not all perfect, some do have QC issues. I've had a few with QC issues, but overall for the price point, I think they really are good value watches, and the name is starting to become more popular for that reason, because they're affordable and they're good quality. The Exec, on the other hand, not many people know about them. Yes, I like the name, yes, I like the logo, but they're just not as common or as popular as Pagani. So obviously that could change in the future, I don't know, but yeah, they're really good value, and obviously the name is just not as popular or as common as the Pagani. If I was going on sound alone, I'd say Exec probably looks and sounds a little bit better than Pagani design. But I just give this an extra point just because it's more well known and more people know about them. But again, you know, that's all down to personal preference anyway, so you might score the Exec higher. And then finally we get to price and value, and the score is 6 to 7.5. So Pagani takes a pretty decent lead in this category, and the reason why is because of the price point. So the Pagani, you can pick it up from around £50, and this one is around 80 to 100. So yes, the Pagani is definitely a better value watch, because you're getting pretty much the exact same watch as this, but for near on half the price. The reason why the Exec scores as high as it does is because it's just ever so slightly better in a few different categories. The bracelet clasp is just a little bit better. The design is ever so slightly better, which is why it scores as good as it did. If it didn't have those things, then it'd probably be a bit lower. But I think 6 is a fair score. This one scores 7.5 because it's much more affordable and you're getting a lot of watch for your money. So now we get on to the all-important final scores. Which one of these is better? Let's take a look. And you can see the Pagani takes the win by 1.5 points. So it's very, very close. And the reason why it's so close is because, well, the Exec is a very, very good watch. It's just too expensive, especially when you can get a watch like this for near on half the price. So if you are looking for a Submariner Homage and you don't want to spend too much money, then get this one. If you like the look of this one a little bit better because it's got the no date, and it's also not got the 5-minute markers, and it's got that little extra detail, then take a look on eBay. There might be one pop up on there for a good price, but on Amazon I think they're around £89, whereas on AliExpress, you can pick these up for like 50 odd quid. So definitely a better value watch, and that's why it wins today. It's nearly as good as the Exec, but it's just better value because it's a lot more affordable. So which one would you guys pick? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads, and of course follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again, I'll see you soon.